Welcome to the Scene Snobs podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Scene Snobs interview, and I am your host, Mick Manhattan, of course, joined with me always by my partner in crime, Casey the Madman Plot. And we have a very special guest here today, the man who I think you scared me so much as a child, as Malachi. Mr. Courtney Gains is here, and welcome to the show, sir. Thank you for joining us.
What's up, guys?
Hey, pleasure to have you on, man. This is fantastic. Glad you could join us today.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
And, you know, I do mean that, because Malachi was just that imposing force. As a child, I'm like,
how old were you when you saw it?
When I first saw it, it was 1987. I watched it with my brother. I think I was about 6.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
And it was so young. You know, it started out, I'm like, okay, kids are ruling the roost. That sounds cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I was about 11 and it still shook me pretty good. That was enough.
That was 10, 11, still young. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm 6'8", 300 pounds, and I'm still afraid of Malachi. Come on.
That's right. Well, if you saw me in person, you wouldn't be so afraid. I'm barely 5'10", 5'11", But when you got me next to John Franklin, who's, barely hitting 5 feet, I looked monstrous,
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, exactly. It's all in who you surround yourself with.
Yeah, that's in the movies. It's amazing how big they can make someone look, or small, depending.
Very true. Well, one thing to kind of talk about that, because it's going to go into a lot of what we're discussing today. Your first movie being Children of the Corn, a Stephen King famous book, and the movie, of course, is iconic. I'm sure you get that a lot, but I mean, to be in a horror movie that turned out to be as big as it was, how was that for you? How do you still,
Well, we had no idea that was going to happen, right? First, it was a Stephen King short story, actually. So it was even, Stephen King movies were just starting to break out at the time. Certainly, he was known as a writer, but being a short story as well, I don't think any of us knew. It was just a little indie film, and horror films were not regarded as they are now, and horror has gone so mainstream now. Back then, it was considered like lower class B movie. I mean, the critics didn't give it any love. They didn't give any love to me as an actor either, and so they were tough on it. But history's proven something else. History's proven that there's no fans like horror fans and sci-fi fans. That's for sure. And John Franklin and I could have never predicted that our characters would become so iconic, particularly as kids. I mean, I think we're voted like in the top 10, scariest kids of all time. I think Malachi is in the top 50 scariest characters of all time in horror. I mean, that's hard to believe that, we had that kind of impact,
And, you've done a lot of horror since. And actually, one thing I've always said, and Casey can attest to this, is, that you're not just a great actor, but you've almost become an iconic, entity in the film industry if you've been in either a Rob Zombie movie or you've been in a Quentin Tarantino movie, because they are picking the characters precisely,
yes.
And the actors to play them. And you were, of course, in Halloween.
Yes.
What's feeling is that like? I mean, to step up and be like, you've reached like a certain pinnacle.
Well, speaking of first, maybe this will get to his ears. Tarantino's like on the bucket list, right? I mean, I would love a chance, and I've been told that my whole career. Like, man, you should be in a Tarantino movie. And I've just tried to sort of put myself in positions for him to see me and things, and you can see his brain ticking. Like, how do I know that guy? But I have not had the chance. But he's such a great filmmaker, man. That would be. Yeah. That would be good stuff. But I did get to work with Rob Zombie, and Rob Zombie just does tons of nods to horror actors that he likes.
Yep.
It was an interesting experience to get to work with him, because that's always the question: what was it like to work with Rob? And the best thing I can say, I was warned, as it were, in a good way, from a friend of mine who had first AD'd a project with him, and he said, "Look, don't worry about the script. Like, know the script, but don't expect it to stay as it is." And that's rare, and it was a really great tip, because that's exactly what happened. We ended up adding a scene and improvising, ended up working an extra couple of days, because what Rob's looking for is the truth in a scene, and whatever it takes to get to that is the process he goes through. And it's a really good process. You feel like you're trying to get towards something, not just trying to get done with a scene. And I think that's, one of the things, obviously he has incredible style in terms of what is his style of filmmaking, the set dressing, the wardrobe. It's, he knows exactly who he's his marketing to, but the fact that he's willing to get to the truth like that. And, it was a gnarly scene. It was a rape scene. Normally everybody hovers around the monitor to watch the scene. That's what you do. That's what's entertaining while you're on set. When we'd come off the set and go talk to him, there'd literally be nobody watching the monitor. It was like no one wanted to see the scene. It was that kind of disturbing,
Yeah, it's pretty uncomfortable. Yeah, but I mean,
that's why it got cut out of the theatrical release. They did a screener and found out the women didn't like the rape scene, which I thought was like, how much money did you pay to find that out? I could have told you that right away.
Yeah, that's pretty simple.
They did make the director's cut, which in some ways gives it a little more, street cred,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And honestly, it's a better version because of how much is in there.
Yeah, that's what I've been told.
Yeah. And going back real quick, and, of course, you were in two of my favorite movies of all time that when they're on TV, it doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm stopping and I'm watching them. And that's Back to the Future, of course, right behind me. And you have such an iconic scene. For me, I've been quoting that for so long, being a fan of the movie. It's like, scram McFly, get at,
As a friend of his for years, I can say yes. He is constantly using that line.
I love it. But the Burbs.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Burbs and Hans. I mean, come on, such a great character to play. Every time I watch it and you see that set of that suburbia,
yes.
What was it like? I just need to know what the whole atmosphere was like when you were filming.
Number one, I have to give, Joe Dante all the credit in the world for creating that character. He really created that look. He knew what he wanted. He'd be like, go to these guys. They're going to make you some ugly teeth. Bring them back and show them to me. Go to the hair. Go give him this horrible haircut and make it not even. Then he'd pick the swath for the leader hose it. And I'd have to put that on for him. And as I put everything together, he'd just start laughing and going, "You're never going to work again." Because it was such a funky look, But that was really him. He really, really created that look, and he really was like, I want this like Scandinavian accent, but I don't want anybody to know where it's from. So like combine something. Like, he gave me all these things he wanted, which is nice. And you don't always get that much clarity. A lot of times you have to bring it yourself. So I gave him and then the makeup artist, what he did, I learned more from him about makeup, because what he was doing was opposed to making you look good, he was making you look bad. So he was detracting. He was using shadows in all the areas you shouldn't be using shadows. And the last thing he did, and by the way, I can't think of the guy's name right now, but he's a big time makeup artist. His apprentice was Eddie Munster. So how cool was that?
Oh, wow.
He started out in black and white film, right?
That's awesome.
He did one thing that nobody's ever done before or since. If you look, you'll see sometimes like green, like looks like veins in my face and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. That was actually pastels. He would use pastels. No one's ever used pastels before or since, but I have for auditions used pastels. It's a very sort of simple, cheap way to do some makeup. Like to say you want some bags under your eyes or something. Very cheap and easy. Just take a pastel, use a little sandpaper or something. Now you've got something you can use.
Oh, that's an awesome tip. Thanks, man.
That's really cool.
Stuff, man. Genius stuff. He was fantastic. So I give. In that one, I give a lot of credit to others contributing to that character. The thing that I used, that was what I brought from method acting external ways. Yeah, there's a thing called working with animal essences. You can bring like an animal energy to something. So my thing was like a deer in the headlights. That's what I was working with.
I get that too.
That definitely comes across, because a stranger in a strange land, right? So
yes, I get that, especially like taking out the garbage and those scenes. Like it sticks out to me.
Yes, so that's what, and I'd heard people like Dustin Hoffman always uses an animal, and if you watch his characters all the way from like Ratso Rizzo, you see that you can find that animal he's using. Yes. It's a technique, and for that character, I used that technique, and I think it worked really well. The thing I always talk about the Burbs was number one, there was a writer's strike on, so it was us and Fletch 2 on the entire Universal lot, which I just could not appreciate at that age. that I was lucky to be working. I'd been working pretty steady, and I just didn't understand how everybody was out of work and all of that. But so I realized now how fortunate I was. Number two, shooting on that cul-de-sac that's a famous the Munsters were shot on that cul-de-sac. Desperate Housewives, the list goes on and on and on. So to be part of that, that cul-de-sac is one of the famous landmarks on the Universal lot, so to be, on the tour, they show that cul-de-sac, so to be part of that history to me is an amazing thing. And then it was just, my big challenge was, as an actor, was everybody, everywhere I looked, were actors I grew up with, actors I respected and actors I liked. I'm a big Bruce Dern fan, so having to shake that off was something I had to work with. And lastly, I'll just say, it's two things. Tom Hanks is the most, down-to-earth A-list actor you're ever going to meet, straight up. And then Bruce Dern was very, very kind to me and took me under his wing and really acknowledged the work I was doing. And it meant the world to me. And I got to see him last year, or the end of 2019, did a movie called Hellblazers that hasn't come out yet. But the main reason I did it was just to get to see Bruce Dern again and thank him for how kind he was to me. Because, like I said, I'm a big fan.
That's really cool. That's fantastic.
I just actually did a recent review because I'll go back and I'll review older movies that I like that maybe a lot of people haven't seen. And one of my favorite movies of all time is Digstown. It's definitely my favorite boxing movie, and he just played such an amazing role in it.
Oh, yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah. I just watched Nebraska a couple of days ago. Finally saw that,
Nice.
What, I'm always trying to sort of figure out, what is, the essence of a certain actor? What do they bring to the party, right? Mm-hmm. And with him, he's just a contrarian to everything.
He really
Whenever
is.
you say yes, he says no. But he's a master at it, right? He's and he does, he improvs a lot. And hey Pinocchio, where are you going? That was a Bruce Dern moment. You know what I mean? That wasn't written. That's just. But, he's just so quick. His mind is so quick. But basically, he's always a contrary to everything. And I'm I think particularly for older characters, which obviously now he's playing, it's perfect. It's perfect for old guys. I'm thinking to myself, I got to channel my Bruce Dern in some movie, where he just whatever you say, he's just rude to you. And
exactly. I can't wait to reach that age. That's a goal.
I'm looking forward to doing my ode to Bruce Dern in some role down the road here, where I get to just be, everything sucks. You suck. You're such a loser.
Yes, I can't wait for it.
Might as well just kill yourself now.
Just give up already. You're not worth it.
Exactly. You're not worth my time or the air you breathe.
I could see it too. I could just see it happening.
So when that happens, you'll know who I'm paying homage to.
Oh, we will definitely point it out.
Before we move on from the Burbs, one person you worked with very closely, and he was old Hollywood through and through, was Henry Gibson.
Yeah, that's again one of the people I had to shake off, right? I mean, Henry Gibson goes all the way back to Laugh-In to the Blues Brothers. I mean, come on, man! I saw that guy my whole childhood, basically. So and he just couldn't have been a nicer man. Couldn't have been a nicer man. And what's kind of crazy now, obviously I'm getting older myself, but I'm the last of the Klopeks, man. Think about that. Brother passed away a few years ago as well. So I did there was a 25th anniversary or something thing behind the scenes, and I felt like I had to represent, man, Henry Gibson and Brother Theodore. I'm the last of the Klopeks. That's kind of a weird thing into itself,
Absolutely. I want to see a commercial revisit or something where Hans Klopek moves to the suburbs again.
I had this crazy idea that he gets out of prison and he moves to the black neighborhood, and it's called the Blurbs.
I cannot. It could work. It could work.
Yeah, with Anthony Anderson produced.
Because the suburbs are the suburbs, actually. But it would just be, can you imagine Hans in a all black suburb? They'd be like, what is this guy about? The Blurbs. I just think it's funny.
And the wackiness that would ensue.
That sore thumb.
Exactly.
Sticking out with a sore thumb.
I thought maybe doing a short just for the hell of it with that concept. We'll see.
That'd be great.
That would be funny. One thing, a huge movie, especially for my partner here, Casey, who was in the Air Force, is Memphis Belle.
Yeah, I love Memphis Belle. One of my all-time favorites. Eugene McVeigh, man, it was such a fantastic role, huge cast, and you just crushed it, and it was a lot of fun to watch.
It's, it ranks up there and one of the most special because it was just such a project. I mean, first off, it was the acting job to get as a young actor that year. They could have had all A-list recognizable actors if they had wanted. So it was fortunate to be able to get in there and got to shoot in the UK, got to fly in a B-17 on the 4th of July. Amazing. I mean, just crazy stuff. And there was Oscar Award winning producers and the director of photography and the editor and the set designer. All of the actors over the years, we've been chasing that experience for it's been the one that's been almost impossible to top,
Yeah, I can't even imagine. I mean, working with that kind of crew, like you said, and just being able to be in the B-17, that experience alone, that's amazing.
Correct.
Wow. That's really special. And you did a fantastic job. So I appreciate that.
No, thank you. But I think all of us, I mean, my selling point when I went into the audition was I was part of this really good theater company in LA called the Friends and Artists Theater Ensemble. And I just come off of doing a very, very tough ensemble that we had won the Drama Log Awards back then, Best Ensemble. And I came in and that was my pitch. I said, ensemble's my forte. I'm in one of the best ensemble companies in town. And I just did one of the toughest plays that there is. And the director was like, wow. He said to me later, he said, that was really a refreshing approach. Everybody in LA was like, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. And luckily, he also was looking at Patrick Dempsey. And on Patrick Dempsey's tape was the scene where I jack him up against the arcade and say, you shit on my house, which is also an iconic line at this point. Mm-hmm. But him seeing that range helped seal the deal, he said. So thank you, Patrick Dempsey, for putting me on your reel.
Right.
That's awesome. Going in, and you've worked with so many, especially movies with ensemble casts, and you are right now. Your new movie out, talk about is Queen Bees, and this cast is insane.
Yes,
and just wonderful. Again, on older Hollywood that just I feel like brings so much to the table. And just to kind of mention a few names, Ellen Burstyn, of course, Jane Curtin, Loretta Devine, Anne Margaret, Christopher Lloyd, James Caan. I know the list goes on. And, this has just came out. If you could tell us a little bit about Queen Bees.
So the plot of Queen Bees is Ellen Bernstein's character goes to a retirement home while her house is going to get some decorating done, and then it ends up burning to the ground, and she has to deal with high school all over again, basically. But manages to find love in the end. So the Queen Bees are the group of mean girls, basically. And the writer producer basically came up with this because his experience of his own grandmother going to a home, he couldn't believe it was like high school all over again, cliques and the in crowd and the out crowd, which is just a horrible thought. I didn't enjoy high school much. I sure as hell wouldn't want to spend my last years in one then.
Not at all.
I'm gonna do everything I can not to end up there then. Right. All I have is a cameo in it, but it was number one, I was fortunate enough to make the trailer, which surprised me. But number two, I got to work with all those iconic ladies. And the first half of the day was me, my character, just watching them. They're in a coffee house, and I steal a purse, and they challenge me and stand up to me, and that's sort of a bonding moment for their characters. But for the first half of the day, I just got to watch them work. And as a student of the game, studied all the methods and this and that. It was so great to watch each one of their different technique and style and how they all work together. Because Ellen Bernstein is a well-known actor, studio method actress. And you could see how she'd have this story she was going to tell, and how I was laughing, how she'd warm herself up with a memory and drop in, But someone like Jane Curtin, who just has the kind of comedic timing you can't teach, right?
Yeah.
An original Saturday Night Liver, right? So,
snappy wit. She's phenomenal.
Yeah. So, and what was really wonderful was when I got introduced to them, the first thing Jane Curtin's like, I know you, you've been in everything. And I was just like, come on, man. Jane Curtin just said that to me.
That's
right?
awesome.
So that was like, that made my day, brother. That made my day.
That's awesome.
It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and to be surrounded by that much Hollywood, and to see that many professionals who, like you said, as a student of the game, to just watch them in their in their thing, doing it.
And in fact, I don't know Loretta Devine's technique per se exactly, or Anne Margaret's, but I could see that they distinctly all had different techniques. I know like Loretta Devine comes from, like, she's done Broadway, and you think about an Anne Margaret, she comes from that hybrid era right before it was all method, right? So she has that charm of like that 50s, kind of actor, yet also understands the method, right? So you see her sort of this bridge, this gap, and you could see how each one had their, like Loretta Devine listening with her eyes, they all had strong technique, but all different in how they blended that all together. For me, it was a great watch. It was a great day of studying good work.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's got to be such a cool experience. And you, like we said, with all the ensembles you've worked with, I mean, you're part of that class as well. You've been building and growing with all of them, and to be part of that, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I happen to, the director, Michael Lembeck, his father started a class years ago in LA, a comedy class called the Harvey Lembeck Comedy Workshop. Harvey did a lot of work, and now his daughter Helene and Michael carry that class on. So I did that class for a couple of years, and it was a real kick in my butt and a really good experience for me growing in comedy. So when I heard about the project, I definitely chimed in and said, "Hey man, is there anything I could do in this?" And when he said you could work with those actresses, I was like, "Let's do this."
Nice.
That's radical.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's some, I was going through, with a lot of your work and things like that. One stuck out to me was Candy Corn. I'm a big horror guy.
Yeah.
And you also produced that from everything I was reading. And, another great cast. You have PJ Souls, Tony Todd.
Yes. Well, Josh, is a definite, horror geek to the max. And, he definitely was trying to bring in as many, PJ hadn't done anything in a long time. And she's a sweetheart. Like, I've done a lot of conventions with her and stuff, but she was trepidatious, because she hadn't worked in a long time. And he really just made, just said, "I'm going to take great care of you," and he did. And she ended up having a ball, and it was great for me to get to work with her. Like I said, I'd done the convention circuit with her for years, and she's just, as nice as could be. But, it was amazing how she doubted herself, because what I saw was just a stone cold pro, man. Like,
that's awesome.
Everything I threw at her, she would digest and react. Just there was nothing you're going to throw at her that she couldn't handle. Right. So it was great to get to work with her. And Tony Todd, man, he was. I've known Tony from the convention circuit for years too, but man, that scene, the first scene when I had with him and Poncho, and how I got on the job was Poncho, and they took it to me, man. They kicked my ass in that scene. They were unbelievable. And Tony would just say some crazy shit to me before the scene would start, just to throw me off. He was just fucking out there, man. But it was just, you see how free he is as an actor, Yeah. And that wasn't, a very big role technically for Tony, but he gave it so much layer, There's talk of, if there's a Candy Corn too, that, they're going to expand his character, and well, they should. But you just saw the depth of his ability, even though it was a really, smaller supporting role. Same with PJ. Her role was not the big. These are roles I'm used to doing. They brought so much depth to their characters, and it just shows you there's no such thing as a small role, just small actors, as they say.
Absolutely. And, seeing what sticks out and really like what we all appreciate. Like I said, I quote your line from Back to the Future the most out of all of them. And it's a quick cameo, but it's such a important cameo to the story.
Yeah, I've had this, I'm amazed at how many quotes, so to speak, have, made the lexicon of pop culture, and some of them being small roles. And I don't know if you guys have seen the episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia that I've done.
You played Roach, yeah.
And I ended up with, they cut a bunch of other things, 20, sitcoms, they you're lucky to be even in it, But like, I ended up having this one line, but it's a line that people know, my son, he loved that show. When he saw that episode and they saw that line, he literally fell on the floor laughing, But it's amazing how people come into me even conventions with that line. I'm just, I've had good luck with these memorable lines, and perhaps maybe it's my delivery or the combination of the two that leaves an impression. But it's pretty crazy,
You've definitely reached the lexicon of a people. of a historical point. There's a group of people who recite the words you used and love it. So it's phenomenal. It's a wild thing.
That's pretty crazy. I call that having street cred. I don't know that I've ever had a whole lot of critical acclaim, but I definitely got street cred, baby.
In the bank.
Well, Courtney, for you, as we're going on and such, I wanted to ask a few questions about, what are some of your, TV versus movies? What are your favorite genres to work on in each?
Well, I'm not particular to a genre. I just want a good story. I want a good character. I want a good story. To me, I love the idea. I love that I've been able to do a wide variety. Maybe because I haven't become, a quote unquote movie star who carries films and puts butts in seats. I'm not limited to that. So if I can act it, I can do it. Like, if I audition or whatever, I can pull it off. I can get it. I can do it. So I've been able to do, a wide variety. And that was really after Children of the Corn being such a breakout in its own right. I knew that I didn't want to just be stuck playing Malachi for the rest of my life. So my 80s goals were to not do the same thing twice. And that concept worked well for me, that by the time that run was over, I had a successful project in horror. I had a successful project in drama. I had a successful project in comedy, romantic comedy. I had done enough that then that was able to bleed over into doing the television and things like that. Yeah. I prefer film in that, it's a more sort of exciting process. Everybody just got this project greenlit. We're all in it together on this ride. Whereas you come in as a guest star on television, they're on this project. Their television is brutal. You're trying to shoot an hour show in a week, 6 days. When you go in for those auditions, the producers, the director, they're all burned out.
Everyone's haggard.
And you kind of got to try to excite the room a little bit, and in television you have to move very, very fast. There's not much room for experimentation. You come in, they set the blocking. If you hit your blocking and don't stumble on your lines, they're moving on. So I've learned to have to be good the first time or the first 2 times, because you're not going to get much more. But that being said, I've been afforded some amazing roles in guest stars, some amazing challenges. One of them that stands out is Diagnosis Murder. I play a character who's paralyzed on one side, pretending to have cerebral palsy on the other. And I had less than a week to prepare that. And I had less than 24 hours to prepare that audition.
That's ridiculous.
Wow.
And that's where I think you separate the men from the boys, as they say. And I got to yell in Dick Van Dyke's face. So, how what's better than that, right?
I mean, that's just a dream for most.
Yes, exactly.
And not just TV-wise, I mean, another iconic thing. You were the one who killed Monk's wife.
Boom.
Yes, I got to be the 6-fingered man, dude. That's pretty crazy. If you're a monk person, that's serious business. They've been building to that dude for 6 seasons, right? So I had auditioned for that show a number of times, hadn't got it, and I ended up getting such a great role,
Oh yeah, and I'm sure you got some hassle for it too.
Yeah, a little bit. Every once in a while, people come, at conventions, but they want to that picture. I'm like, I still have that pinky though, man. I always if somebody wanted to buy that pinky, it's available.
There we go.
Heard it here first, everybody.
Yeah, exactly. You did. I don't think I've said that before to anybody. But yeah, that was an interesting project to work on. Shaloub is such a wonderful character. It wasn't really until I don't think he knew maybe who I was or whatever. But until we had the fight scene, and all this choreography happens, and he's like, he's also producing the show. He's like, "So you sure you're ready to do this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." And then I just nailed it the first time, and he was like, not this guy's first rodeo.
He knows what he's doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, sometimes you have to, sometimes they don't know who you are. You got to let them know who you are,
Exactly. Throw it down, show it.
But the last really wonderful character I did on television was an episode called My Brother's Keeper. It was a Criminal Minds. And that was a really, really tough character. And I got offered that role, which in television is rare that I get offers. And he's the red herring in the project. You think he's the unsub, and you find out in the end he's not. But he's homeless, but he's having PTSD problems, and yet he has this. It's very it was so hard. I rarely asked for any direction, honestly. I came to the table read an hour early to meet the director because I said, I don't understand what we're doing here. And he's like, oh, let's go talk to the writer producer. And even he couldn't explain everything to me. I had to put a lot together, but it was a wonderfully challenging character. And I'm real proud of the work I did in it.
That's fantastic. Definitely going to have to check it out.
And then the last TV thing I did was a BET show called Tales that is a 10-episode anthology, so each episode's different. I just shot that, and I play a really corrupt cop, and I'm looking forward to seeing that. I've played sheriffs, but I've never played a cop looking like an LAPD kind of looking outfit. Funny story is I was at this park in the neighborhood just chilling out before we had to shoot, and I went to take a step off the curb, and this car slams its brakes in the middle of the street, and this woman looks scared to death. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, she thought I was a cop.
Or Malachi, we don't know.
I think she thought I was a cop. I was like, the power of the uniform. Holy
yeah.
I know,
man.
right? Yeah.
It was like she thought she was going to get a ticket, man.
So coming through, one thing, one question we like to ask everybody who comes on. Again, I kind of talked about it a little bit with the Burbs and Back to the Future. They're I call them remote dropper movies. If it's on TV, I drop the remote and watching it. And I want to ask, what are some of your favorite remote dropper movies?
Great question. I don't get asked that question. I don't have a lot, honestly. I'm not the kind of guy who listens to the same record over and over again or watch the same movie over and over again. I'm just not. But that's not to say there aren't things I love. But the one that is the remote dropper for me is Enter the Dragon.
Oh,
nice.
Great movie. Yes. That was on the other day too. Yeah,
and if it's on TV, wherever in the middle, beginning, end, I just stop and watch it. Just, I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. I saw the first Bruce Lee movie I saw. I was probably like 10 or 11. They let me in this old theater in our neighborhood. They let you in R-rated movies, and I just remember just being blown away by this guy. I just never seen martial arts before, but not just that. I mean, I think Bruce Lee is underrated as an actor. I really do, and I think that Enter the Dragon is the height of his skills. But the scene where he avenges his sister and he jumps on the dude and breaks his chest or his neck or whatever, and it's in slow-mo, and you watch him go from rage to sorrow. I mean, come on, man. That's like James Dean level stuff right there in Rebel Without a Cause. You know what I mean? Yep. And I just don't feel people give him the credit. He obviously has had a huge impact, but people tend to lean toward the martial arts component, which is there. Don't get me wrong. I mean, phenomenal. But he was a kid actor. He started out, his father was an actor. He's an actor, Make no mistake about it. That dude's an actor.
He absolutely was. And you're right. He doesn't get enough credit. And I think with the fullness of time, had he more opportunity, I think people would have seen that flesh out more and become more. Unfortunately, obviously,
I agree. But just the very fact that he was able to break the ground and be an Asian leading man, just shows you something right there. But yeah, he was. The opening fight scene, they're wearing like UFC gloves. I mean, he was 20 years ahead of his time, man.
Oh, absolutely. And talking about his acting too, like if you watch Game of Death, the scenes that he was, able to film and finish.
Yes.
Like I think that was for him more of his all right, I get to act in this. It's not just, it
would have been a bit of a coming out party, and unfortunately he didn't get to finish it. And how crazy with him and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? I mean, such an amazing athlete in his own right. To me, I'm a bit of a sports guy. To me, grew up on the Lakers, and I think I grew up a Lakers fan. To me, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the GOAT. I'll say it right now. It's not Michael Jordan.
No, that's fair. I think Larry Bird is up there. Being a Celtics fan, but it's
If you just do straight numbers, let's talk from high school championships to college championships to pro championships to how fast he won his first championship to all-time leading scorer. The list of accomplishments is insane.
It is.
I was also I had season tickets to the Clippers because they were easier to get, but they had a sort of like a museum set up for Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at one point. It was a room with all his accomplishments, and it was insane. Wow. It was insane. All the championship trophies and MVP trophies, just his ring box with all the MVPs and all of the all-star games. It made you go like, what am I doing with, what have I done with my life? It was that incredible. And I hope, it was only there for like a month. I hope that they were going to take all that stuff and actually do a real museum because it's worthy. It's worthy. The accomplishments from high school on, and just incredible, man.
True.
That
He is
guy
one of the tops all
accomplished his
time.
career.
Absolutely.
And just you take away just the career in basketball and his athleticism, and he's Mensa level, IQ, and the work that he puts into science.
He's shown who he is in the long run. I mean, look what he's done with his life, after basketball.
Yeah.
All the books he's written, everything else. Yeah, I mean, the guy's I don't think there's been anybody, and certainly in the NBA, he's a unique, one of a kind.
Yeah, a one of a kind individual. Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. And that's a great movie to have as your remote dropper. Like that's
right.
I'm
there.
glad you appreciated my choice.
Brilliant one.
Absolutely. I've never heard that in all the time I've asked that question too. So it sticks out. Like those stick out to me for sure. I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. I would be remiss if I didn't ask about this, especially because Casey being such a huge fan. You got to play with Fish.
Yes.
I see you're a musician.
Which was awesome, man. Saw that with 96, 97, was it?
Yeah. So, okay, I got to take a minute to tell this story, guys. So how this all happened was Mike Gordon, the bass player, picked me up hitchhiking. I was getting from a friend of mine got married in Nova Scotia, and I was hitchhiking to Detroit, and he was my second day of rides, and he put me up in a place to stay in Burlington, Vermont. This was before they were playing at Nectar's. They were like,
yep.
So we had this amazing conversation about artists and they start showing up to town in LA, opening for Santana. And the next thing you know, they're playing the Greek themselves, and I just watched this band become Fish. So, I got to know these guys a little bit, Mike being the one I know the best. And they had this guy who was a prankster who would prank them that they wanted to get back. And he was deathly afraid of Malachi. And so for years, they were trying to get me to do this Malachi prank. But the ideas were not good and doable. Finally, they came up with this one and they were in Vegas. So that was an easy trot from LA. And they, so what they did is they threw this party, and they were up in the penthouse of, what was it? One of the big hotels. And they got this guy baked on shrooms, and then took him out gambling for a while. And when he came back, there was everybody at the party had left, and it was just Total the Corn playing. And so they sat down watching it with him, the four guys in the band. And then one by one, they peeled off, Trey being the last, who's obviously a redhead. And I was waiting in the master bedroom and put on his coat and came in and sat next to the guy. And they were hoping for like a big scream or whatever. They didn't get that because the guy was so freaked. He saw me and he was like, "Oh, hey." And he gets up real slow to walk out. Like, he's figuring he must be tripping, right? Or whatever. And they're like, was he scared? I said, the dude was petrified. When they went to talk to him, he literally could not utter a word for 45 minutes.
Oh, no.
And so at that point, I was in the graces of the band, and they were like, "Whatever you want." And I said, "Let me come out and play a song with you guys." They're like, "Done." So the guy saw him the next day. He was a great sport about it, but he said, "Yeah, I never was more scared in my entire life."
Oh man, what a fantastic trade-off, though. Wait, that's the Malachi for Play with Fish. All right.
Yeah, and got to play with Larry Lester Primus too, so it was pretty awesome.
Oh man, that's righteous.
Awesome.
Dang,
that's such a great story. And honestly, it's just an amazing career. Like
phenomenal career, and still blowing up. I mean, I'm like just checking your IMDb. It's like, oh, look at these 40 things in post production.
I guess I should plug the things that are happening coming out right now. So,
yes, sir. What you got?
Absolutely, please.
Obviously, we got Queen Bee's out right now, and then River. A independent film came out. It's coming out today, July 13th. It's a sci-fi thriller, psychological thriller, and it's a cool little film. And I get to play a wonderful character who is the small town. He's the lead girl is sort of like surrogate father, but he's also a psychiatrist. And she starts having time lapses, and he helps her try to figure it out. And it's just a different character than you've ever seen me do. So, Dr. Michael Glenn, and then. A horror movie I did called Await the Dawn just came out on Prime this last week. It surprised all of us. We didn't know it was happening. And that's got Dee Wallace and Vernon Wells and myself in it. And that's a fun ride. And then another movie called Charming the Hearts of Men is coming out August 13th. And that's a movie set in the 50s. And it's about the woman who had a hand in getting the word women's rights put in the Civil Rights Bill. And it's I play the owner of a diner that she works at, and that's where she allows a sit-in that causes a big controversy that sort of causes her to get involved in civil rights. And it's a cool project, and I'm glad to hear it's seeing the light of day. So all of a sudden, it's like boom, 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 boom. All these projects are coming out that I've been working on the last couple of years.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic, man. I can't wait to check out more.
Yeah, I really want
especially
to watch River. I'm not going to lie. That sounds
Yeah.
rad.
It's interesting. And the woman, Emily Skye, who put the film together, it's her first feature, but she's a real auteur filmmaker. She wrote it, directed it, did the cinematography, and she does a wonderful job using natural light in it, and also did the editing. So it's her coming out party.
Awesome. It's fantastic.
That's great.
And thank you so much for being on the show today. And we're going to have links to everything so everybody can go check out River. You can go check out, Candy Corn. I'm going to blast someone a little bit. I really enjoyed that.
Nice.
It's Queen Bees, of course. We'll keep watching. We are fans. Courtney, you are fantastic. And it was just such a pleasure to talk to you, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on.
I appreciate all the kind words, and it was nice meeting you guys. Take care, okay?
Pleasure's all on this side. Be well. Be good to each other.